I wouldn't wish what happened to me against my worst enemy. To have a drug addiction it's not a game. It started off, I mean, we leave the academy, you get a lot of success, you got money, you got fame, everybody praising you all the time. So it's natural, you get a little bit of arrogance and you get a bit too big for your boots. And then I went and I started hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Gives me great pleasure to announce that Andrew Harrison's not here today. That's only a joke. He's been on the telephone with me all day. So we left him up on the hill in Ashburton, and it's going to be our guest and I today flying solo. Andrew will be back with us next week. But for today, we're going to speak to Chad Little, and it's maybe a name that you haven't heard for some time. And that's the reason why we've got him on the podcast. A fine young man who knows his way around horses. And Chad, it gives me great pleasure to have you on our podcast. Welcome, and how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Warren. Good to be here. Thank you very much for the invite.
Yes, lovely, fantastic, and nice that you came to join us and to come and hear your story and find out what you're doing and what you want to do. The first question is horse racing. Horses, the industry, how did you hear about it? Because I know that you are, your family are racing people, but many out there might not know. But how did you, even though I know people that are racing family that don't get involved in racing, but when did it all start for you?
Oh, as far back as I can remember, I was a little boy. My grandfather was a top jockey. He rode for the Oppenheimers for many years. He won a lot of mini races for them, Julys and Tigerfish. So he was flying the flag high for the family as far as horse racing goes. My dad obviously got involved. He later in life and became a trainer. So when I was a young boy, my dad was training, and I couldn't wait to run to the track with him in the mornings. As far as I can remember, that's all I ever wanted to do. So, I mean, I know nothing else in actual fact.
Schooling, obviously you would have went to the academy, of course, and you would have done your schooling, etc. But before that, was it sort of just do the bare minimum and get to the stables, get to the horses, or were you ever an academic, is what I'm saying? Was it always the love for horses over everything?
Yeah, it was always the love for the horses. I mean, obviously I had to go to school and my dad was quite strict with it, but when he had the horses that we knew were good runners, he would allow me to take a day off every now and then. But when I was sick, I would have to go to school no matter what. So my only day off would be if we got some good runners and I used to sneak off and take off to the races. And yeah.
That reminds me of such a great story that many years ago, when we used to travel to school on the bus, and my mom would drop me at the bus station, and I'd get up onto the bus and off I would go, and she would go home, and of course she would thinking I was going to school, and then they had a parents meeting at the end of the term, and according to my mom and I'd never missed a day of school. I mean, I was present every day. And she asked the teacher, she said, the teacher said to my mom, he said, Mrs. Lenferner, there's a bit of an issue here, your son's got a lot of absent days here, and we're not quite sure what's going on. And she said, impossible, I've dropped him, he got on the bus, he's gone to school. But anyway, I came home, she was given the Spanish Inquisition and asked what happened. And I had to admit that not all the time, but a lot of the time, go on the bus to the race course, nowhere near the school, but that's just part of life. But anyway, back to so that's how you got involved. And of course, your dad was Alfie Little, yes. And your grandfather was Bennie Little, yes. Just to put it out there so everybody can be sure. Okay, and two great men, as you say, two top horse people.
100%, yeah. I mean, my grandfather, he's got a name. He made a name for himself. He rode many Group 1 winners, yes. Many years. And my dad was a trainer for a while. He did well for a little while. He obviously never got a lot of support, and then he actually started doing Pierce Adams rides.
Okay.
And then from there on, after that he started working with Graham Hawkins at Pumalela.
That's right.
And he worked his way up the ladder quite high. And before he passed away, he was actually he was one of the senior positions with him and Clyde Basil.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Talking to Clyde. yeah, him and Clyde got on well, and all those people that you mentioned, their working relationship was fantastic. And I remember the sad day when the news came through, and yeah, took everybody in a great sadness. But let's talk now about some of the winners that you've ridden in your career, and I'll get to where have you been and what you're doing. But I just want to talk about, to set the tone, horses that you've won on in your career. You've been blessed, and you've ridden some very good horses. List a few. Talk to us about a few special ones.
Well, like I was very fortunate. I went to the academy, and obviously having a little surname from my grandfather, I was always sort of high regarded, and I knew how to ride before I even went to the academy. Whereas a lot of the guys came in there, and they had never seen a horse in their life.
Sure.
And so I started riding work, and I signed my papers in my first year of riding work, and my very first ride was a winner.
Sure.
Which got me set off to a good start. And then obviously I was claiming 4. My first ride was a winner, so I was like a in flavour kid at the time. And I had such good support. I mean, I was riding for David Payne. He had a very strong swing up here. Kevin Shea was my mentor. He taught me a lot. I rode many winners. I finished my claim in my first season riding 50 winners. And I rode some good horses for him. Millennium Diamond, I can mention a few. But as I got older in life, the better horses I rode, I won in Hail Caesar for Alec Laird. He was a very good horse. He was plagued with soundness problems, but he was such a champion horse. And then I started riding for Sean Terry, and I rode a lot of good winners for him. I won on Alistair, which he won the Met. I rode him his off the run after, and I won a Group 2 on him.
Sure.
I won on National Colour. She ended up going to be a champion. She's mayor of Rafif, and she went overseas. She's done phenomenal. I won on Pomodora. I won on Heavy Metal.
Sure.
So I've ridden some really, really top horses for Sean Terry, and those are probably the most significant horses I've ridden. They were really good horses.
Sure, those you've mentioned some huge names. You're quite right. And how old are you, Chad?
I'm 40 now.
Jeez, you wouldn't say so, hey? 40, okay. So that's because when you started mentioning those names, David Payne and you know, those Kevin Shea, and that's going back some time.
Yeah.
So yeah, you wouldn't say 40, but that's excellent. Now, life, you know, throws us some curveballs, and we all have our different paths that we take. But you were suspended for 5 years. But now you're reaching the end of that suspension, and there's a lot that's gone on, and there's a lot that's going on, and there's just so much excitement waiting around the corner. Tell us a bit more.
Yeah, sure. Listen, I wouldn't wish what happened to me against my worst enemy. To have a drug addiction it's not a game. It started off, I mean, we leave the academy, you get a lot of success, you got money, you got fame, everybody praising you all the time. So it's natural, you get a little bit of arrogance, and you get a bit too big for your boots. And then I went and I started hanging around with the wrong crowd, and slowly started getting introduced to the party life and drinking, and I had a line one night, and eventually it just spiraled out of such control that I woke up one day and I was addicted, and there was nothing I could do about it. And I mean, I was going to the races out of my mind, and still having to ride races. And I tried to hide it for very long. And I mean, it eventually caught up to me where I got caught out. They gave me a 3-month suspension. It didn't stop me. I came back, I went to rehab, and I relapsed. And I got caught again, and they gave me a 1.5 year suspension. Then I came clean for a little while, and then I relapsed again, and they caught me again, and then they gave me a duty suspension. I deserved it. I mean, once you got 3 warnings, yeah, you don't learn,
Sure.
you learn. Yeah.
Sure.
But I can't complain about it, because it made me a better person, what I've been through. It's made me, that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Definitely, I think it applies. And it's just made me a much better person. I appreciate the little things in life. And yeah, it's something that's out of your control at the time, and I'm just so blessed to have had the support structure I had around me, which could help me get through all of it, because without it, I wouldn't have been able to do it alone.
Well, that's the other thing I wanted to ask you, and I praise you, and I respect you, and I lift my hat up off to you, because to talk about things like this is not easy. You know, it's not easy, but you know, they say face the fears, face the truth, face the reality, and you bounce back stronger, which you can quite clearly see is the case, as you've alluded to yourself, and that you're reaching the end of your suspension, and we're going to talk a bit more about that. But you know, as I said, around the corner, there's just so much waiting for you, and you've seen the light. You're working towards your goals, which we're going to talk again just now about. But how did you motivate yourself? You've mentioned that you needed people by your side, and you've clearly had people by your side because the end result is right there in that chair, and it's a wonderful result. Who were those people? Or I know you can't mention them all, but how did you motivate yourself, and who motivated you, basically?
Well, look, I got two friends. Their names are Gabriel and Christian. Their family is involved in racing as well, Khalil's. So when I was using, they were using with me, and we were using for maybe a couple of years together, and then we separated ways. I went and I tried to get my life right, and they were still running the streets, doing their thing, and somehow they managed to get clean. And once they were clean, a year and a half, they heard that I'm still on drugs, and they came to look for me.
Okay.
And then they fetched me and they put me into rehab, and that's how the whole thing started. And it was such a hard process to go through. But I mean, those two guys, without them, I wouldn't have most probably come clean.
Correct.
But for me, the biggest thing that got me clean is when I had my daughter.
Yeah. She's 3 years old, is that right?
Yeah.
What is her name, Jay?
Grace.
Grace.
Yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful name. Okay.
So once she was born, it gave me something to really live for, more than myself. And since then, touch wood, that's what saved my life.
People say that when you find when you're wanting to get married, or you find your fiance, you just know. There's something in your body that just clicks, and you just know. And then when you have kids, I haven't got kids of my own, but I certainly have two beautiful stepchildren. But to speak to those that have got their own kids, that know, it's just that something switches in you. I mean, I've got some friends that were party animals and lost cop, and I think to myself, the wife is pregnant, and what's going to happen now, because this guy's unconscious, he doesn't. And they just turn like that. And it's amazing what a child can, what a birth can do to one's life.
It is crazy, because I must be honest, I had my doubts where I thought I'm never going to be able to get over the drugs and the life I was living, because it's such a toxic thing, and it's a mind-altering substance that obviously I'm used to the thrills and the rush from racing, the winning and whatever. And then when I wasn't having that, I would look for it in the drugs and in gambling. I would go to the casinos and gamble a lot. So I would find those rushes in other things, instead of in something that's positive and going and getting that rush from riding winners and being successful. So yeah, she definitely turned a lot around for me. She saved my life. I mean, she's the most amazing child. I love her with all my heart.
And your fiance, and what is her name, Chad?
Her name is Nikita.
Nikita.
Yeah,
okay.
She left me when she fell pregnant, because I was still on my shenanigans, and she left to Cape Town. And I've lived in Joburg my whole life, so I was like, how can you do this to me? But I mean, I'm in the wrong, but I still look to blame, or shift blame. So when I went into rehab, I went in for a year, and when I came out, she said she's not leaving Cape Town to come back to Joburg. It's no good memories there for her. So I said, well, I've got to go where my daughter and her are, and I moved to Cape Town.
Okay.
And then I was there for about 3 months, and I reached out to Glen Kotzen, and he was kind enough to give me a job to come and ride some work and start getting back into the racing game and getting a bit of a zest for life again.
And if there's anyone, sorry to interrupt you, that would keep a beady eye on you and ensure that you were well behaved, was Glen. I mean, because as much as he is a great human being, and his whole family, in actual fact, and the whole family, the whole Kotzen family, but you would need that. And I think if you stepped out of line, he would certainly tell you,
Yeah, 1,000,000%. But fortunately, he got me when I was already sort of on my good path. So he hasn't really had to keep me in check. Me and him have such a good working relationship. We haven't had one day's issue since I've been there. I mean, we're on the same page when it comes to everything. When it comes to the work with the horses, what we discuss and how we go through it. And we really work well as a team. And I think it shows. We've had a phenomenal season. We're doing very well. And I just got to say to him and his family, they really took a chance by letting somebody come and work there. It's had a little bit of a reputation of what I've been through. But they were kind enough to give me the opportunity, and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah. So the suspension's coming to an end, and you just explained to the public that, you know, obviously you have to, you know, you can't say to the NHL, well, I'll see you in 5 years. You've got to go through a bit of a testing process along the time, and you say that those testing processes have come and gone, and there's one or two more, and they've been successful, clean, clear, and the green light's about to be switched on.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I got in touch with Arnold Hyde and V. Moodley, and I reached out to him. I said to him, I'd love to get back into riding, and my suspension is nearly up. Can we start looking at it? So we went back and forth, emails, and V approached me and said to me, okay, we're going to, these are the protocols you've got to follow. We're going to randomly test you. In each time of the day, you've got to be tested, and you've got to pass these tests. So I came and I gave samples at the race course, and so, yeah, everything's gone according to plan and clear. And I did my last testing last week, so I think they're going to sit with the board, the licensing board, in the next couple of weeks. And then they're going to obviously come back and tell me what other last few things I have to do. But it looks like we're on track for hopefully in the next 2 months, 2.5 months, I'll be riding again.
Chad, that's huge news. I'm sure that is huge news, and that really is exciting news, because that's obviously one of the goals that you've set yourself, and I'm sure once you have your first ride, you'll have other goals, and that's exciting news. So we look forward to opening the computer form and the official race cards and winning forms and seeing Chad Little's name there, because as he's explained to you, he certainly knows how to get horses to win. He's ridden some top quality horses, and that's exciting. So your job at the moment, say you now, when you get your jockey's license back, are you still going to be able to work with Glen? Are you going to be employed with him? Are you going to be his main rider? How's that going to work?
Well, the discussions we've had is that when I started there, I told him my plan was to come and ride work, get fit, get my weight down, and then reach out to get my license back. And would you be interested in me doing all of this? Obviously, he pays me a salary while I'm not race riding now. But going forward, yes, of course, that would be great. I mean, he's got a very powerful string. He's a very good horseman. He knows how to get to the best out of horses, and I mean, he's proven himself over and over and over. So, I mean, I'm on such a good wicket, in my opinion, better wicket than I've been in, most probably in my whole career, because he's got such a powerful string, and he's got some great owners that are supporting me too. Sandy Arundel and Eugene Arundel, they've really supported me, and they've pushed Glen to support me as well. So at the moment, all rooms are facing the sea. Cattle both sides of the river.
Cattle both sides of the river, that's a good one. But I'm glad you touched on the Arundels, because, you know, yeah, every owner is well respected and well loved and well needed in the industry. But, you know, you mentioned the Arundels, so we're going to talk about them a bit. Just positive people, you feel the affection, you feel the positive vibe, and not only from Sandy and Eugene, but from their kids and their grandkids and absolutely everybody. And yeah, they've supported racing, and they've supported a lot of people behind the scenes in a big way.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you can't meet better people than them. I mean, I hadn't met them yet, and I just had heard a lot about them. I've been working for Glen for quite a while, but I'd never met them. And obviously, Rasova is quite a difficult filly, so I work her nearly every day. No one else really handles her well. I mean, I got such a good knack with her. So when she won her first Group 2 in Cape Town, Sandy phoned me, and she was like praising me and said to me how well Rasova won, and thanks for all the hard work. And she's very generous too. She gave me such a nice incentive, and she always looks after me when the horses win. But I've become such close, like almost household friends with them, and they are such amazing people. And they put so much into the game. They're not scared to put their hand in their pocket when it comes to buying horses, when it comes to looking after people for incentives, whether it's the grooms, whether it's me as a jockey, whatever. They're such good people, and they deserve all the success they get. And they've really got some nice horses, and they're supporting the game in a big way.
This is exciting. You're quite right. And as we all know, they've also, just put Graham Hawkins on board too to assist them in their affairs, and that's just a wonderful thing to do as well, because they've got a nice big operation. But that's the Arundels. Talking of Rasova, the race on World Pool Gold Cup day that Rasova is going to run, and it's 2,000 meters. Is that right?
Yes.
Distance, what do you think?
Look, 6 months ago, I would say never. But she's just maturing. She's only 3 years old, we forget, because I mean, she's actually been running in the group races from a 2-year-old. She's been successful and hard knocking, and she's always there. So you forget that she's only a 3-year-old filly, and she's only now starting to get stronger and mature. And we're actually winning the battle. She used to pull so much that you couldn't really settle her. And we're winning the battle with her. It's a lot of work behind the scenes, getting her to relax. And in her last 2 runs, she won the fillies Guineas, beating Double Grand Slam from the front, and she fought off Double Grand Slam, and actually towards the end, going away at the end. And then the last run, she switched off so beautifully, and she took time to get going, and she actually finished the race off quite strongly, and that was a mile. So I said to them, look here, if ever we're going to try it, we're going to try it. You put her in the 2000, she's in such a good rhythm, she's so well, let's try it. And you know what, if she does stay, it opens up a whole different,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, now you, instead of having only a 14 or a mile races to go for, now you've got such a variety of races that you can pick and choose and go for. And I think she can get, she's good, she's really good. She's one of the better fillies I've ever ridden.
She, as you say, so you could almost go as far as saying it would be silly not to try.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, you just come back and trip.
Exactly.
But you've got to try. You'll never know. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. But yeah, she's a good filly. And then in one of the other races, you were just telling me you're going to have the team will have 3 in the one race: Spirit of Levana, Lock and Key, and Whistle the Tune, which are 3 very good horses. Spirit of Levana, that form line's sparking up nicely.
Yeah, she's a very smart filly. I mean, she ran second first time out on the poly. She was nowhere near ready. She ran behind Gimme Countess, which is subsequently come and shown what Dean Kahneman and them think of her. And then she came in, she won quite comfortably. And then we put her in again the other day against the Colts, because there were no other races for her. And she beat the Colts, and she won a very impressive race. So she's won 2 from 3, and she's doing so well. She's taken her racing so well. I can't stick my neck out which one I think is the right one of the 3. They're all working so well. She's a big runner in Spirit of Levana. She's a smart filly.
Chad, Woodhill Estate, just explain to the public where exactly is
Sorry, I just wanted to touch on Lock and Key as well.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, she's also such a smart filly. She won by 8 lengths first time out in a 1200. And then we put her, there were no races for her. We had to put her against old horses. And she won July Day. So she's won 2 from 2. And she's taken her racing so well, she's going to be a big runner too. And then we got Whistle the Tune, who won the Devon Air at Sandy and Eugene's filly. And she was so finicky, that filly. She used to look around at everything. We put the cheek pieces on her, and that's when she won the Devon Airs. And Richard has elected to ride her above all the others, which is quite interesting. And she's got the draw, and she was very unlucky the other day. She got into a bit of interference, otherwise she would have run second in the Group 1 to Quid Pro Quo. I think she's going to enjoy the mile, and she's going to be a big runner.
Looking at those 3 horses and hearing your comments, and I apologise again for having interrupted you, no wonder you can't split them, Chad.
Yeah, they're all smart fillies.
No wonder you can't split them.
They're smart.
Okay.
Look, on work, if we work them together, I'd stick my neck out to go with Whistle the Tune. She really shows good work at home. The other fillies are maybe not as forward as her mentally. They are very nice and they're still progressing. But if I had to pick one, I would most probably lean towards Whistle the Tune.
This is a question that I want to ask you, which is just come to my mind now. You're talking about work. That's what made horses working. I was chatting to somebody the other day, a trainer who I suppose I could have asked a question to, but and he'll remain nameless because it's the show's not about him. But I'm just using this as an example. Horses run 4 times, works the house down, and works really well. And in actual fact, I went and watched the work, unbelievable work, going head to head with 5-6 time winners. And it's run 4 times for 4 lasts. What is it, Chad? How does it? How can they show such phenomenal work in the morning and go to the races and not put it in your opinion? I'm asking you.
Yeah, it's a very rare case. The only explanation I could give to that is that it's a horse that would prefer sand. Some horses are dirt horses and some horses are grass horses.
Yes.
But It's not normal that a horse works that well, and unless it's a very young horse and it's still coming into his own, he's not strong enough to bring it to the race course, and maybe a little bit of time can bring the horse on, but more than likely he's a dirt horse and not a turf horse.
That's a good point, because I don't think this particular horse I'm thinking of has ever been tried on the poly, absolutely. But it just also the point I'm making is it can be frustrating because you know they can't talk, you can't find it's you know I'm sure you've worked some horses that work like absolute bombs and they come to the course and they can't win.
There are cases
it happens, which is very sad. But nevertheless, back to Woodhill Estate. In the Cape, what a magnificent estate it is, and all the facilities required.
Yeah, it's got everything. I mean, we've got our own tracks. It takes a lot of work. You've got to take your hats off to the team he's got up there. You've got to have to do the track every day, the water the tracks. They've got to maintain such a big property. They've got mares, foals.
Sure.
They've got about 20 dogs.
The Kotzens love their animals. It's so great.
Yeah, they do. That's one thing about them. They're really good, soft-hearted people, their whole family. And they do everything for the horses and for the animals.
With you being a larger jock, and I say it, with respect, you are much taller. Do you have any weight issues? And if so, what are you eating and how are you managing it?
At the moment, since I've been off for so long, my weight creeped up to like 68. I've been on quite a strict diet, and over the last 8 weeks, I've lost like 6 kilos. I'm down to 62. So I've got still about another 4 kilos to go because I'm not going to try and kill myself. I'm going to ride 58 and 59, 60. I'm going to ride all the top weights.
It's probably the right thing to do, Joe.
Yeah, similar to Bernard Fader. Yeah. Because I used to actually push myself to take off too much weight to try and ride lighter weights, and then you're not strong. You don't ride your best.
Sure.
And listen, that was one of the factors that contributed to my addiction was pushing myself to try and be so low, and then I found having a bit of cocaine here and there, my weight came down. So it was one of those things that are just bad decisions. But at the time, it looked like it was working and it was the right thing for me, but it wasn't.
So just so the public know, your minimum weight you would like to be, you said was 50?
58, 59, around about there.
So you'll take the heavier rides,
yes.
Which is fantastic. But with dieting and watching weight, etc., obviously we'd all like to eat McDonald's burgers and things, but we can't. But what do you enjoy eating when you've got to go the healthy route? Are you a salad man, or what do you like to eat?
I do love a salad, but I've actually been reading a book on dieting, and they said the best thing to do is just eat meat.
Okay.
But you don't have the carbs, and you don't have rice and chips and all that type of thing. If you just eat meat, steak. And I'm a meat man. I love my meat.
Okay.
Yeah. So in your technology nowadays, you've got an air fryer. You just pop it in there, and it cooks it to perfection. So it's actually quite easy to maintain your weight nowadays. You're not like you have to actually get special meals prepped.
Sure.
The technology nowadays, you buy a steak, put it in the air fryer, and it's healthy. No oil.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is. I've come across that. You're quite right. Meat. And a lot of it too. So that's certainly the right way to go. Hobbies? Have you got any other hobbies? Soccer, sports, any other interests?
Listen, I've been racing in my blood, so that's my main hobby. Like if I'm not riding, I'm watching all over. I follow a lot of racing. I'm always on form grid studying. I like to know exactly what's our competition, especially when I'm working with Glen and we want to pick races for horses. It's so important to know the form lines and don't run here because I'll run here and take on something that's going to be hard to beat. Rather run here, it's a weaker field. And like Glen always says, what does he say? Keep your horses in the worst company and yourself in the best.
Correct.
Like that,
Correct.
Yeah, I love a round of golf.
Okay.
I'm very erratic. I can blow hot and cold. I have a good round, bad round. But golf's a really good sport to do. You enjoy the walking. I'm going just now after this to play some paddle. So I try and keep active. I play action cricket with the boys in Cape Town, with Aldo and all the boys.
Talking about the boys in Cape Town, you must be very, very chuffed and very proud of every record that Richard Fourie's just smashed.
Jesus, phenomenal what he's done. It's absolutely phenomenal. I don't think we ever live to see it happen again. I can't see it happening. There's nobody else that's going to be able to top what he's done. And you've got to take your hat off to the man for working, to travel the way he did all over the country. To him and his whole team, I mean, his agents and everybody, for picking the rides they did. I mean, it takes such in-depth studying and focus to get the rides he was getting. And he got the support, but I mean, he wouldn't get it without being who he is. He's a champion jockey, he's a great rider, he's always in the right position, he times his routes to perfection. And like I say, I don't think we're going to see it happen again in our life.
He is a humble guy, and he sort of, I won't use the word annoyed, but he doesn't like it. And I always force it on him a little bit, because that's what the game needs. He's, you know, when you praise him for a great ride, or, you know, and you say, you know, that he's ridden the horse 3 times with 3 wins, and he always likes to say it's the horse, which is great, and that's great to be humble. But, you know, if you're a golfer and you're watching golf and the oak hits the ball right down onto the green, you know, you get excited. What a great shot. You go to the rugby, people shout and scream, what a try of note, I haven't seen a try, man of the match. It's the same with horse racing, and I think it must be, because, you know, that ride that I spoke about with him in his interview yesterday in Port Elizabeth, Catch Your Breath. I mean, we were standing right here in this very office with all the colleagues here, and we were watching, and everyone had their $50 on Richard. And at the top of the straight, they said, well, stop watching, it won't run a place. I mean, he got up to win comfortably. It was just poetry in motion. And as racing lovers, you get excited to see that. That's what you need.
100%. Oh, look, you know, everyone's got their different personalities. I think, I do know, I mean, I was having dinner with him the other night. He's very super proud of himself. He knows what he's achieved is top class. Yeah. But he is a humble guy. You get some characters that are flamboyant and more extravagant, like a Whoop Whoop Kamalo and Muzi. They're more flamboyant. But Richard, he's proud of himself, but he's very humble. And I think he just goes about doing what he has to do. And that's the main thing. And it's a good thing. I mean, like I was explaining to you, it's so easily to get sidetracked by the praises and the success and everybody's praising you. And it's so easily to fall into that where I'm so good and I don't need anybody attitude, whereas he's got his thing down to a T and he's humble and he appreciates it.
And as you say, every human being and every sports person in soccer, rugby, everybody's got a different personality and got a different way of handling it, which makes it even more special. Talking about that, I laughed again. We'd had a winner some time ago in our personal capacity, and I said, well, we better go out to dinner and we better go and celebrate and have a glass of wine. And the trainer said to me, well, why do we need to do that? I said, well, because we've had a win, it's fantastic. He said, do you think that a painter goes out and celebrates every time he paints a good painting and he sells his painting? It's his job, it's part of life. And I said, well, that's looking at it a bit harshly. That's everyone is different, because we like to celebrate winners. But yeah, as you say, the point we're making is that everybody behaves and celebrates and takes the fame differently.
I think that's actually what makes racing. I mean, there's no sport in the world that can get people. I mean, when we have racing and Raskova's running, and I stand with Sandy and Eugene on the stands, the amount of excitement and anxiety and like all the emotions, you can't get that anywhere in the world. No, I mean, these horses bring that feeling out of you. It's you can't buy it. So I do agree with you. I think that you've got to embrace those wins when they come. I mean, sometimes you can go those months when you don't have a winner for 3 months. Correct. And then, so when they're coming, you've got to embrace them and you've got to celebrate them. And I think that's what it's all about, the enjoyment and the excitement.
I'm exactly the same.
I agree with you.
What, do Sandy and Eugene shout their horses home? Are they vocal? Or do they
crazy,
get excited?
Crazy.
Oh, good.
And
good.
Sandy, she gets teary when they win.
She does, yeah.
She gets very emotional.
That's it, yeah, absolutely. Now, Glen's runs we're in the home straight, unfortunately, but we could... Paddles needs to be played, and we've got the Gold Circle race card to do as well for the Gold Cup. So we're in the home straight. Last couple of things. Glen runs a professional outfit. At the races, everybody's well dressed. Grooms are neatly turned out. He's got a sponsor, and you obviously stick to that as well. Professional, neat. It's good.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you got to. Since I was brought up, my grandfather and my dad always told me, you always look the part. You can never be overdressed, you can always be underdressed. Yeah. So I've always also tried to be quite smart and presentable wherever I go. And Glen and his family too, I mean, they're really quality people. They've got such good morals and standards that they set by. And just the way they treat each other, you can tell that they're a loving family. And they're really, really special people, and he does. He's got a great team and outfit there in Cape Town. And listen, that man works non-stop. He's a workhorse. You don't see many. I haven't seen many people work like him. He never stops. He's 24/7, phoning the owners, looking at horses, buying horses, breeding, and he just works. And he never complains a day in a week. He just grinds, eh?
He's another thing that's very good about the yard and other yards too is the transparency. They're always prepared to talk to the media. They always send out a message. That's a huge part of the game. That's needed. That is a non-negotiable, in my opinion.
Well, Glenn, he said the other day he tipped lock and key to everybody very confidently, and someone made a comment to him, said, "Oh, but they can steal the prize." He said, "Listen, we need all the luck we can get in racing. So the more people that win on my horse, the more luck I get, because they shout and the people are shouting for my horse. It creates my luck." So he believes the more people win, the more people are happy. So
and that's it's a good way of looking at it, and it's the right way of looking at it. Yes, you mentioned some owners or whatever may say they're concerned about the price, and that's fine, and they're entitled to be concerned about that. But the more that are on your side, there's enough for everybody to enjoy. Whether you're winning R1 million or you're winning 50 rand, it's
exactly.
Let everybody win, let everybody enjoy it, and that's quite right. Last question is KZN. You've been here for a little while through the season. How's it been? You've enjoyed being back in Durbs?
Yeah, it's actually lovely. I mean, especially when you hear the weather in Joburg and Cape Town, it's been horrendous and freezing. Yeah, we haven't even had a winter. It's been great. And it also helps when we came down we couldn't have scripted our season better so far. We've had one meeting where it was slightly disappointing, but every single other meeting has gone like you couldn't have scripted better. We've brought in a very young string of horses. They've all showed, we thought highly before we came with them. And obviously, like you say, sometimes they work so well and they don't perform. Yeah. So we came with a string of babies that we thought were really classy. And the good thing is that they've performed and they've shown us that we actually know a little bit what we're talking about.
No, lovely. Well, that's great. And of course, just another thing that's come to my mind, Glenn, it's got yourself, down in the Cape, he's got his assistant there. He's got his assistant in Durban. He's got a good team that support him.
100%. Yeah, he's got Tracy. He's got John. I mean, he's got his head guy Nelson, which is brilliant with the babies. I mean, all his grooms. It's a really, really well-oiled machine that goes on. Yeah. No one can do it alone. Without a good team, you can't do this. It's such a difficult sport to do alone. You need the horse, you need the staff, you need the jockey, you need the owners. Yeah. There's so much to it, but when you've got a good team and everybody's on the same page, it seems to run smoothly.
Chad, I don't want to delay you any longer. What time did you book the paddle for? Don't say 12 o'clock.
No, it's later, 2 o'clock.
Oh,
I don't know how long this is going to carry on.
No, that's great. But just thank you for coming to see us and coming to share your story, because as I said, it's not easy to talk about uncomfortable things, but you've handled the whole thing like a thorough gentleman, and the racing industry, I'll speak on their behalf, is proud of you, and we wish you well. As I said to Richard, along his journey of breaking records and things, you're not alone. You've got the whole industry funking for you and going with you and riding the wave, pardon the pun, with you. And I know I certainly, and our colleagues and everyone in racing will look forward to following you now as you go and get your license again and take the next giant step. So we're proud of you, and although you'll be down in the Cape, we will certainly watch you with great interest, and I wish you and your family really everything of the very best.
Perfect. And just to end, I left one guy out that's been a big, what do you call it? Influence in getting me to where I am. Is Brendan Fegan. He's quite a big owner in Port Elizabeth. Okay. He actually funded my rehab when I went to rehab, and he's really supported me like you can't believe. He's flown me up to come and work some horses when I didn't have a job, and he would pay me, and he's always just looked after me. He's really supported me, and him and his family, and he definitely needs to be mentioned as someone that was really influential in my life, and my mom and my fiance.
Good family and good friends is what certainly makes life easier. But if Chad or I have failed to mention somebody, just everybody knows who they are that have played such an important part in his comeback, and listening to the man and hearing his story, he appreciates each and every person that's helped him get through. But it's been great, and obviously we've got the big meeting coming up at the end of the month, and then you guys head back off to Cape Town, and we'll come down to your neck of the woods, and hopefully I'll be able to come out with my wife to see Woodhill Estate, because we've been meaning to do that for a long time. But thanks for your time, well done, and as I said, wish you everything of the best, you and your family.
Thank you, Aaron. Thanks for having me.
Lovely.
Thank you,
That's
guys.
Shea Little,
Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen, who is shared his story with us. And we certainly do wish him all the very best. Just very quickly, not much news that I can think of off the top of my head, but there's plenty of betting opportunities, soccer, rugby, there's lots of betting opportunities. Just go on to Tab Gold and Gallop TV and YouTube, and everything's there at your fingertips. The big meeting at the end of the month, we're preparing for that. Free racecourse entry, free on-site parking. It's the World Pool Gold Cup. Be safe, punt well, and we will see you, as always, in the number 1 box. Remember to subscribe, like, and follow us on the Gallop TV YouTube channel. If you missed last week's episode of In the Box Seat, click right here, and you'll be able to watch it at your leisure.